Hello everyone and welcome to an unboxing of the Black Friday / Christmas 2021 releases from Night Models, mostly for the Batman miniature game, but with a bonus DC Universe miniature thrown in at the end there. It arrived just in time for Christmas for me. I'm recording this on Christmas Eve. You'll be seeing this on Thursday, I think, so a little bit after, but it got here just in time, so I'm counting this as my Christmas, opening it a little bit early. We're going to take a look. Mostly the theme of it is obviously Mr. Freeze, so I apologise in advance for any time I describe any miniature as looking cool. It is not a deliberate pun, it's just, you know. But anyway, there's a lot to get through. I can't even fit it all in frame, so let's get started. So I've decided I'll get started with the Black Friday specific stuff. So this is all the Mr. Freeze stuff over here, which I forgot to mention. He does have a physical release of his objective cards, which is very good. And if we have time at the end, we'll cover the DC stuff. So first of all, if you spent over $100 or euros, you got a new Alfred for Black Friday. Basically the same as the old one, except he's got a hand across his chest this time. His rules have just been added to the app as well. I've just noticed at the base I got for him. Oh no, it is fine. So there's not much to him. His rules, he's more or less the same as most other Alfreds with the exception, I'm trying to load up here. Oh, I was just about to say he is only in Bat Family, but I just loaded up the app and it's saying there's an update, so hopefully they've corrected that because he should just be in Batman Crews. Let's see. Updates. Added Lobo Paramilitary. Oh, that would be the Christmas themed Lobo they're going to be releasing in January. Never mind then. So, as I was saying, currently the new Alfred is only in Bat Family and he's an Intel support character. Take a quick glance at his card there. So he's not really on the board and he has a Batcave support special. 40 rep, he can absorb nearby friendly suspect markers to give buffs to non-cop friendlies within range, so Bat Family people, basically, whether it's a Batman crew or not. I think it's an error that he's not in the Batman normal list and is in Bat Family only. Either way, he was just a little added extra if you spent enough. Then, without a themed box, I believe this should be Batman Metal, which is Batman rocking out on a, I think it's meant to be a guitar, but like I mentioned I think in a previous video, it looks more like a 6-string bass to me. And he is different in the sense that he's the kind of, I mean he is tough, yeah it is him. He is tough, but his stats are more in keeping with a Batman that's more about buffing your other units to make them better. So let's see, there's going to be, I can't tell if this is going to require a lot of cleanup, or if it's just because he's covered in like death metal chains and such. I'm also not sure if that's in focus. I'm having to pull back from the camera to see. Hopefully it is. Yeah, maybe he's got chains all over him. So we have that. We have his themed base that has got spotlights on it and an effects pedal, which is great. Let's see, what's this? A leg with a little bit of cleanup. Nothing to see there. And finally, the guitar / bass itself. Now I was trying to get his card up at the same time, but doing two things at once not always the best at. He's 150 rep, I remember that much because it's the same cost as Red Rain Batman. He's good but in different ways, definitely does not fill the same niche. So we can quickly take a look at his card there if you want to pause for yourself and take a gander. He's got bat armor, he's got a special for changing the tempo which changes the buff effect that he's currently applying. He can do a devastating riff, which is just a great name for an attack. It's a expanding devastating wave with Sonic. Legendary solo, he can do free efforts. And he has a debuff as well, I think. He also has power supply, which is what the power armor Frank Miller Batman has. So he can spend power counters to boost his move, boost his defense, and a couple of other things. He's got reinforced gloves, he's got shockwave, and also he's classed as undead. Also, which is quite fun, he's got one of the boys, so he benefits from his own Inspire role, because that means he counts as a henchman for the purposes of the Inspire. So I guess he's just so inspired by his own music that he's going to do better, I suppose. Oh, forgot to put that back in, but that's fine, I can sort that off camera. So this is the main, very impressive looking release for Black Friday specifically, and it's Bane Unleashed, when he is famously breaking Batman's back. He's already got his character card. He's reusing some of the bats from the 80th anniversary Batman. It's the exact same mold. but that's fine. I might leave them off because I don't think they're necessary, and they just get in the way. Actually, I think the first time they used those bats was on the Christian Bale Batman for 2nd edition. So let's see here. Okay, we've got Sprue. I'm looking up his card at the same time. So this is his scenic base, which is the wrecked Batcave, I believe, because he goes to Wayne Manor to fight Batman in the Batcave. That's where he breaks his back and then takes him to a building to throw him off it when people in Gotham are watching. Because Bane do be like that. I'm not sure if that hole's meant to be there. I guess that could be where the bats are slotted in. He comes on the biggest of bases, but wait, I feel like when it's Bane, that's fine because Bane is huge. Then the rest of his sprue is actually bagged, which is quite nice. It looks like it needs a lot of tidying, because remember the last time I did an unboxing for Night Model stuff, the sprue was ridiculously clean. Like, it looked like it had been pre-cleaned. It was very impressive. This time, maybe not so much. So we've got Bane's huge body there. I'm going to have to turn the viewfinder a little bit so I can see this better to tell if it's in focus. I believe it is. So we have Bane lifting up the bat with his venom on the back. His other leg plus the 2 bats I was talking about. The cape. Now is the cape optional? No, because it's got his hands. He is, like, I went and checked Nightfall because I couldn't remember if Batman still had his cape on, because part of me thought he took it off when he was going back into Wayne Manor when Bane confronts him, but no, he did have his cape on, although it's a bit longer than it should be there. We have another leg. That must be a Batman leg because that is not Bane sized. Bane is in plus sized legs, and Batman himself, the poor so and so, just getting lifted up and broken. So now we have a Bane that's strangling Scarecrow that can be in a crew with Scarecrow, and we have a Bane that can be fighting Batman while cradling Batman above his head. So yeah, that's just the way of it. I'm looking up his card real quick. He is very, very powerful. He is probably the best iteration of Bane in the game now, if I had to say. He's only defense 2, but because of his like flies to me rule, it doesn't really matter. When this model's the target of an attack, the attacker must treat this model's defense as equal to their strength. Most models are like 4+ strength, so you're counting them as defense 4. Poor assassins with their strength 5+ are treating him as defense 5. And he's got 14 HP, he's got Venom Enrage and Accelerated Venom, so you can pick a couple of different effects instead of the normal Venom boosts if you want to. He can convert all the damage he's doing into blood. And he has Unleashed Strength as his basic attack, double stun with Bleed 2 in handy. He's got the invulnerability for using Venom. He has 4 doses, so he uses 1 per turn. And he has a rule called Breaking the Bat, where he crits enemy bosses on a 3+. And he has another rule where Grudge Match, that's the one. It's a special action. He can select that neither person taking part in combat can use efforts, just because, I don't know, he wants to enjoy the fight. He's 161 reps, so he's on par with the most expensive Bane, but it is a ridiculously impressive miniature. Like, it is just so cool looking. I'll get all the cools out my system before we look at the free stuff. It is so cool looking. It's just one of the better sculpts they've done for quite some time. It's really impressive. Never going to do it justice, but I'll certainly give it the old college try. So that's the Black Friday stuff. Now we move on to Mr. Freeze. So first up for Mr. Freeze is his objective deck. They've had this available digitally since the pre-orders opened. There's a card specifically for Mr. Freeze, and there's a card specifically for Killer Frost, because there's a new Killer Frost in the crew box, because Mr. Freeze came separately, which I guess is just the thing they're doing now. The big base boss comes separate. So let's open this up. Assuming it's the same, it should be... Oh, there's an additional bag. It should be perfect. I don't think I noticed any mistake. I think I noticed one spelling error when I was looking over the digital version, but it's like perfectly understandable, like what the card is meant. There's no super confusing rules. There we go. And he has a special mechanic where all his new models do, where you can freeze suspect markers, and his mechanics are built around that and these new cards right here, which there should be 4. Or there's what you do when a suspect marker is frozen, but there should be 4 of these. Yep. So there's 4. Oh wow, they're textured. There's 4 of these Ice Age cards, so you can freeze opponents' objective cards, and they have to work with your suspect markers to get them back. And that's a good mechanic, because a lot of his deck requires the enemy to cooperate, and they don't want to cooperate, so you have to force them. So this, combined with another mechanic he has, helps for, like, he has some objective cards that will score if you don't go interact with his suspect markers. and that forces the opponent to, at least on some level, deal with them, and in doing so will potentially trigger other suspect marker or other objective cards. So in theory it should work, but we'll have to definitely try it out and see. So important research. Again, these have been available, so I'm just going to quickly go through. I'm not going to sit and read every single one. Some of them are complicated, some of them are super simple. He seems like he's got a good, well thought out mix of a objective deck. And the nice thing is, there is a player-made Mr. Freeze objective deck that's been sitting around for a while. It doesn't involve these special mechanics at all. If you want something more traditional, you could still use that if you're playing digitally. Stay Cool, that's the front cover they've used for the Mr. Freeze crew box. And again, you're getting all 20 cards plus 2 character cards as well. Chill Out. I don't recognise the suit there. I thought it was a reference to the Arkham Origins DLC starring Mr. Freeze, but I don't think the heat suit in that looked like that. Frozen Assets, Endless Winter. He has a lot of cards where you can only have one in play, which is a way they've corrected, like having to court secure their bases cards in play. I wouldn't be surprised if they edit those to also say only one can be in play at a time, but you just add on markers for doing stuff, and then Kingdom of Ice is the other one that does that as well. And then let's see, Send Them to the Cooler, and then it should be, yep, Searching for Nora. That's Mr. Freeze's unique card worth 3. And then one of the easiest 3 scores in the entire game belongs to Miss Killer Frost, where instead of KOing a model, you just choose to remove all damage from it and freeze it instead, and boom, you just scored yourself 3 victory points. Super good card, nice quality. It actually feels thicker than their reprint of the other decks in the like card pack 1. I mean, this feels more like the stuff that came in the original Back to Gotham box, and as I say, these ones feel extra thick and a little bit textured. So that's neat. I'm looking forward to getting to grips with his mechanics again if you want to pause and read, but it's available digitally. Like you can print this off yourself. You don't need to buy the physical cards if you just use your own cards. But yeah, neat. So technically next on the list is Reinforcements, which I don't remember buying actually. Oh, you know what? I bought the all-in pack because it had a saving, so I guess these got thrown in for free because I don't remember selecting them. I might have to, let me just check real quick. Yeah, I did get the Mr. Freeze bundle, so I guess it probably included these. These are in this, so we don't really need to focus on it, and I want to talk about this box actually, so hang on. I'm going to have this box in view while I open these quickly just to show off the sprue. Cool looking box, sorry, again, not deliberate pun. Neat looking box, but as soon as I got it I was like, oh, something's wrong here, and I'm curious if anyone can tell what it is. Can you tell what's wrong with it yet? Maybe kind of now. If we come around here, it should be very obvious. Something is wrong with how this has been packed. It is not packed correctly, it's bloated, and I worry about how the sprue has survived inside as a result of the overpacking. So that could be a problem. But we'll quickly look at these two. On the plus side, if these two are broken in there, at least I have more. But the reason there's this reinforcement box is because these freeze minions have the minion rule, which means you can have 3 of them even though they're identical. So one of them has got an ice sword, and then for some reason the little lady here has guns for hands. I'm not going to look at every single one of their cards because there's too many miniatures. Like, you get a ton of them. We're going to look at the sprue, especially because I want to make sure it's all safe and sound. But they have a bunch of new rules as well. A new rule which is really good for all this free stuff called Exposure, where the more you've hit someone successfully, the more additional damage you apply. And that's really scary on a couple of the stronger guns. Now, I don't quite remember offhand if her weapons are super good, but most enemies also have like cryo armor, which is basically light armor, and the ability to freeze suspect markers with cryo grenades. And they have a couple of themed, little themed bases. It's been a while since they've done a small size themed base, but there's a couple in here. And then a couple of the normal bases that fit on top of. So yeah, those look fine. Not much cleanup at all. I have no idea how I'm going to paint their ice armor, because I want to try and replicate the official paint job, and I do not know how I'm going to do it. But anyway, I'll tidy that up in a second. This is the important part. So in this box, you get the new Killer Frost who's sitting atop an ice throne. You get those 2 minions I just talked about. You get a gentleman with a larger gun. You get a lady with a power fist out of Fallout. And then you get 2 polar bears, a melee focused one, and one which has an artillery cannon on its back being loaded by a baby polar bear that's blepping. Everyone catch all that? Alright, let's see how badly this is. Okay, I can't tell which way is the right way up. Oh, what the? Oh, that's why. Okay, so that's why it's bloated. Because they bagged up all the bases. Why is there two giant bases? Oh, I guess the polar bears are on the absolutely huge base. I didn't expect that. I thought they were on the medium-sized base. But that would certainly explain it, because the box went much thinner once that was out. That is a lot of sprue. That is a lot of sprue. Yeah, so the polar bears are actually on the massive base. Huh. Okay, I genuinely didn't think that. I thought they were on the medium. So yeah, we've got, that's the base of Killer Frost's throne, I believe. Here's the other base for the polar bear. I guess that's what one of them is standing on, so that's a chunk of resin, so that's going to slot into there. Is that polar? It can't be Killer Frost's throne. Yeah, it's for the artillery, which I just realised you can't see. It's for the artillery one. He's sitting on this flat bit, so he's sitting up there to give him a bit of range. The artillery polar bear in particular, his weapon has a very scary, I think it's double blood, double stun damage. Plus it can fire without range of line of sight. And it has the exposure rule as well for extra damage. Where's the little blipping baby polar bear? Oh no, it fell off the sprue. It looks, there we go. That's never going to get in focus. But that's the little polar bear that sits on his back loading in like chunks of ice to launch ice artillery at people. So all this stuff here is the two polar bears. It's artillery ice cannon. Not much cleanup from that stuff. A little bit of cleanup on the scenic bases. That's not where that was. Need to keep this together because there's a lot to assemble and I don't have the time to do it right now. And then we have all the little sprue. Let's see, is this Killer Frost? That's Killer Frost with a couple of hands. It's a more modern version of Killer Frost than the existing mini as well. You can still use the old minis incidentally. They haven't erased them from the... I don't know if they've made them eternal, but they haven't erased them from the app. And that's her ice throne, which in no way looks like any other throne from any other franchise. And then is this the... Oh, that's the gun arm lady who we have in the extra reinforcements box. And then we have just stuck in there, I think those are her hands, they're gun hands, and then we have the Power Fist. Oops, I moved my hand right in front of the camera there, I was trying to see. That's the Power Fist lady's hair and weapon. And then we've got just stuffed in here, just the bodies of the other guys and whatnot. There's no way I'm going to be able to tell whether everything's here that's supposed to be here until such time as I've assembled it, which is a good point to mention. And then there's 4 scenic bases. That if I notice anything after the fact, I'll put it in a stickied comment below the video if I spot anything wrong. Same with anything about the suspect mark objective decks as well. But it seems okay. It's not as I was worried about the sprue being damaged. It might still be if I try and put it back in because I don't know where all this stuff was. Very surprised at the size of base for the polar bear. You know, I'll probably leave this out, but yeah. So Killer Frost is on the medium-sized base, as is most sidekicks. Polar bears on the huge ones, everyone else on small ones, and everyone on the small one comes with a scenic base. So last but not least for the Freeze themed releases is the man himself, the new release of Mr. Freeze that everyone has been waiting for literally years. It comes with a massive base option and a smaller base option, and it looks pretty decent. I like the pose. I am very curious. Place your bets now. Does he come with a glass dome? The Mr. Freeze that came with Gotham City Chronicles did, and you were supposed to like paint him up and then put him on afterwards, obviously. I'm just quickly looking up Mr. Freeze's rules. As I say, without reflection, like the whole crew is in here, including Captain Cold. Actually, I don't see the old Killer Frost now. I only see Captain Cold, so maybe not. Maybe she has been like erased from time. But we can quickly, if you want to take a look at the Mr. Freeze card, he has a lot of new, specific to him rules that we don't really need to talk about right now until he's on the table being used. But he's decent. They updated his gun from when they first put it on the app, incidentally. They changed it a little bit because they uploaded the wrong version, I think. Let's take a look at the sprue and whether or not... I'm going to guess that he does come with a glass dome. A little, well, plastic to look like glass is what I mean. If he doesn't, that would be very disappointing. So So not nearly as much sprue in here. Everything bagged up. Where are we? Do we have a little plastic helmet? Don't see one. Okay, hang on. Let's crack this open then. Doesn't need to stay in the baggie really. Okay, big bait. Oh, there. Oh. We do, but it's busted. Oh, well, I mean, it's been crushed by the other sprue, so it's the wrong shape, and also it needs to be trimmed to at all be usable. But kinda, I guess. Kinda. I'm gonna need to like stick something in there to undent it. Where is his head? Because I wanted to see. I guess without his head, it still works as well. Oh, there we go. I'm curious because it obviously has to fit into his body. There's a very specific shape. Yeah, you would have to trim the edge for this to be usable, but at least it gave you it, I suppose. So, large base. Oh, you can do it Ray Shall Go style. Put him on the small base and it slots in somehow. Probably like that. No, probably. Not entirely sure which way. To be fair, probably something like that. No, it looks like that's at the back. I'm looking at the box off camera. It looks like it should be like that, but that doesn't look like a smooth joining in to me. Whichever way it goes, you can at least. You don't need to glue that, so you can have him on the small base as an additional option if you want to. He is a large lad though. Like, look at the size of his legs, just like that. So he is pretty tall. The small base is fine as well if you just wanted to have him standing on the ice. There's a little bit of trimming needed here as well. Of course, the end thing they love doing now is all the bosses for crews have to be on massive bases. It's not so bad with him, I suppose, if you have the polar bears on it as well. It doesn't even fully fill the massive base though, look at that. You couldn't have made that just fill the base. Again, small base, it just locks onto there as well if you just wanted the smaller base option, but you're paying for both whether you like it or not, which is always the downside with the way they do bosses now. But he's neat looking. See, I said neat, not cool. He's got a very interesting objective deck. I have no idea how I'm going to be painting his armor at all, but very much looking forward to taking a stab at it because he's neat looking. He looks very, very cool. There, I said it. So last but not least is Larfleeze, the Orange Lantern, the sole surviving Orange Lantern that they released for the DC Universe miniature game. His rules are already on the website. They got it on the day they started shipping them. I would say his rules are a little bit basic. He's basically the same as every other Lantern miniature that exists for the game. But it's just a cool looking mini. I'm not familiar with the character at all. I just liked how it looked. And I have a friend who is the embodiment of a Greed Lord, so, you know, felt compelled. So he's also on the super huge base. He is surrounded by the lanterns he has stolen because what's yours is his and his and his and his and his and his, etc. No assembly instructions, so good luck with guessing where all this goes. Not even an indication of any being available either, but at least it more fills out. Well, kind of. It fills out there a little bit. So we have Larfleeze himself and the rock he's standing on in his flaming body there. And what else do we have? So his ring constructs are like his dead teammates, or other Orange Lanterns, as I understand it. So there's 3 of those that go around the base, and good luck guessing where. I suppose that must be the worm one there. So from that you could probably work it out. So the lady is there, and then the 4-handed alien is over there. I don't know any of their names. And then we have an assortment of tentacles. That is tentacles. That's hair tentacles. She's got like the hair tentacles like the Star Wars alien race, whose name escapes me right now. Bunch of tiny hands, and I don't like the look. Oh no, are those the tiny hands of the worm thing? Hopefully that's not too reflective. There's 4 tiny, tiny, tiny hands. It's got to be his hands, right? It's got to be those. Oh no, why didn't you just have those on it? Yeah, that's exactly what it is, because he's armless. That is going to be an exercise in frustration that I don't envy future me doing, but hey, present me doesn't mind too much, I suppose. So yeah, that is Larfleeze, and more importantly, overall for the purposes of the video, that was the huge assortment of Mr. Freeze's 3rd edition releases. He is probably going to be a force to be reckoned with all this stuff. His objective deck, Bane Unleashed is super cool. Batman Metal is an interesting way to play a Batman mini. I still think it's not as powerful for the same cost as Red Rain Batman, but it just offers a different playstyle. And we'll need to get the Mr. Freeze stuff on the table to truly work out how he performs. So we won't see it anytime soon because there's a lot of miniatures to get through, but you'll see them in painting updates and stuff as well. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Have a happy Christmas, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ta for now.